All right, welcome back to Fun on Weekdays podcast, everyone. I am Jenna, your host, and today I'm with my friend Anna Hildreth.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here.
Last night we were talking about how Anna's voice sounds like Miley Cyrus, so...
Yeah, you might agree, you might disagree, but I've gotten that a million times in my life. Like Jenna said, my name's Anna, and when I was little, I'd go to summer camp every summer, and they called me Anna Montana because they're like, you sound exactly like Miley. So I've been getting it since I was I was young. Yeah. But anyways.
We need to hear like a Sweet Niblets or something.
Yeah, like
kick it off.
Dang sweet niblets. I don't know, something like that. But I'm a little raspy, but I cannot sing like her. So do not ask me if I sing like Miley because the answer is no.
We're a little raspier than usual.
Yeah.
We went to an event last night. It was a tequila event, and we pre-gamed it with gas station wine. So both of us woke up, like literally we got to the office and she's like, I kind of had a headache this morning. And we're like, yeah, same. I didn't want to admit to myself that it was a hangover though.
I didn't either, but I think it was.
If I just kept telling myself like, no, I can get through it. And then I went on a walk and I sweat. I'm like, okay, feel a little bit better, but
yeah.
Anyways, happy to have Anna here. Anna was one of my first friends when I moved to Austin. We moved here right around the same time, but you moved here from North Carolina.
Yes.
So when did you move to Austin?
I moved in July of 2020. So I started my job at home at my parents' house because it was the middle of the pandemic in June, and I wanted to save a few paychecks before I moved here so that I would have a little safety belt financially before I moved here. So.
And you started your job at?
Oracle. Everyone in Austin, Texas works at Oracle. So I was a part of the fraternity, sorority, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Oracle a little bit because I feel like most of the people that I met when I first moved to Austin worked for Oracle. I met you, I met some of your friends, and you would always hang out with the Oracle people, and it was really just such a good way to meet people, I think. Yeah. So oftentimes when people ask, oh, how did you make friends in Austin? I always think back to that first time because it was the start of like a new cohort, right?
Yeah, so they have like different class ofs. I was in sales, so they have other programs as well, but they hire, I don't know the exact amount, I think it varies each summer, but they hire like several hundred college students, and they call it the class of program, and it's based on the class that you graduated. So I graduated May of 2020, so I was like the June class of for that summer. So they had like a June start date, an August start date, and I think they also normally have a February start date for anybody that maybe graduated in December. Okay. But it's like you graduate and you immediately go to work, and it's all people your age. You go through 8 weeks of rigorous sales training, so you're like divided up into like classrooms. They literally call them classrooms. We have teachers.
I remember that. Yeah. I would come over to your guys' apartment, and you would be on like calls, you and Leanne.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. But it was a great first job out of college, and I definitely don't regret it. I didn't see myself there long term, but for the time being, it was a great place to be, and I'm definitely fortunate for that opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, especially right out of college, like, I mean, that was a great place because all of the people were also in the same boat, but a lot of people don't really see themselves staying there like forever. It's just a good entry-level job. So what was your actual role?
So my title was business development consultant. They call them BDC.
Fancy.
I know. But you go by a BDC for short. And so basically it's an entry-level sales role where you're cold calling, you're sending out emails to prospects, you're aligned to some field reps. Some of them align to inside reps and outside reps, but my particular cohort, we only aligned to outside reps. So they were going after like huge companies, trying to close really big deals. So you're just kind of assisting them in that process and trying to build as much pipeline as possible. For those of you that aren't in sales, are like, what's pipeline? Basically, it's just like getting people interested in the product and starting them in that sales cycle. So typically, every company is a little different in what their stages are, but like stage 1 will be like introduction, stage 2 will be like, is it a technical fit? Stage 3 will be like proof of value. Maybe stage 4 is a proposal, and then stage 5 negotiation, and then stage 6 is like, oh, we closed the business, we won the deal. So it does kind of vary from company to company depending on the product, but we're just trying to get people in that sales process. So it's called the pipeline, the sales pipeline.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you talk to your friends about what they do for their job. No one actually knows what their friend does. It's just like, oh, she works at so-and-so, or oh, she works in sales. Like no one actually knows what their friends do.
And you're just like, yeah. You just like, you're like, you just like nod. You're like, yeah, I know. Yeah, you don't know.
So many people work at Oracle in Austin. We have like a huge campus here, and it's
the HQ
in Riverside.
Now.
Oh,
yeah.
really? Okay.
So it was in Redwood Shores, California, and they actually moved it to Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Recently. So it's the headquarters now.
So the way that the program works too is like, I might be confusing it with Dell, because Dell I know is also
Dell's
huge
big
here.
too.
But you have basically like a rotation where after, is it 2 years or something, you can move to a different office? Am I thinking of Dell?
That might be Dell.
Okay.
I don't know anything about that at Oracle, but that might be something for that one of your other friends that worked at Oracle told you about, because it is so different. Oracle's massive. So people are like, whenever I tell them I used to work at Oracle in Austin, they're like, do you know so-and-so? I'm like, that's like asking me if I know someone at UNC, and it's like hundreds of thousands of people. No, like, I'm sorry, I don't know them. Like, it's a needle in the haystack. And so I don't know. I left Oracle because I wanted to go somewhere smaller that was more like homey family environment, where I'm not just a number, but it's like I matter, and they care about me not only on a professional level but also on a personal level.
Did you think that Oracle was like too corporate, just like too many people and too processed, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's just everything's so set in stone. And so if you go work for a startup, you have a lot more autonomy and ability to speak up and give a voice that's actually going to be heard, and people are going to take what you say into consideration. At a company like Oracle, I mean, my team was great. My manager was awesome. I had a great relationship with him, and he definitely cared about me on a personal level in terms of growth. But if I go to somebody that's a director or C-suite and I'm trying to say, hey, I have this idea for Oracle and how we can change or innovate or grow, they're going to laugh at me.
Yeah,
they're going to be like, okay, 22-year-old BDC, like, get back in line. So I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some pros to that. Being within a huge corporation, you can easily, switch internally from like one department to another. And you do have the recognition of the name brand. Like, everyone knows what Oracle is. You go work for a smaller company, and I tell my dad's friends, like, oh yeah, I work for this. They're like, what is that? We've never heard of it. So it just kind of depends on the path you want to take. And I definitely wanted to experience both. So I'm happy that I started off at Oracle, but I definitely think right now in this phase of my life, and probably for the next few years at least, I'm going to want to stay in a smaller company where everyone knows everyone's name. Everyone knows where you went to school, where you're from, if you're married, if you're not, if you have kids, if you don't. And it's more just like, we're not just coworkers. I wouldn't say we're all best friends, but we kind of cross that threshold of just being coworkers into being more friends.
Gotcha. So after Oracle, did you quit that job?
Yes.
And then, this is a good question.
Which was scary.
How did you quit?
So I was supposed to actually make an internal, lateral move. So it wasn't a promotion, and I wasn't really excited about it. And they kind of came to me and they're like, hey, there's this opportunity to make a lateral move. Like, what do you think? And to be honest, I was just like, okay. Like, I was in a point where I was like, I don't really know. And I'd had a lot of personal things going on, as you know. And so my job wasn't my number one focus at that time in my life, but I was just like, sure, I'll make the lateral change, whatever, see what happens. And then a recruiter reached out to me via LinkedIn. I wasn't actively looking for a new role, and I'm really into fashion, like just in my personal life. I love, seeing trends, and I always style crazy outfits. But anyways, it was kind of a crossroads between the tech world and like the fashion retail industry, because it was a startup here in Austin that had a technology platform specifically for the retail industry. And they were bringing me on as a strategic BDR, which is like business development representative, which is essentially the same thing as a business development consultant, like I was at Oracle, just different name, but same title, same thing. And so they brought me on as a strategic because I had that 14 months of experience at Oracle. And so I was getting to reach out to any brand that did $3 billion in revenue and north of that. Yeah. So like I got meetings with directors at Nike, like Adidas, Lululemon, Ralph Lauren. Like it was so cool for me. And like we're talking about their upcoming assortments for, the fall of 2025. So I'm getting like a sneak peek of like denim and leather jackets and like, anything that they're thinking about designing or putting out
it's
a year
crazy.
and a half, 2 years from now. Yeah. And they planned so far in advance. So for me, it was just a lot more exciting than at Oracle. I was selling Oracle Cloud infrastructure, which I mean is a cool product, but it wasn't nearly as fun and interesting to me as something for the retail industry.
To your personal life, you're not sitting every day and being like, wow, I love this.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so back to your original question about quitting. So I was supposed to make that lateral change. I got like information about who my new manager was going to be. And I was supposed to start on, I think it was September 1st. I know it was the first of a month, and I'm pretty sure it was the 1st of September. And this was back in 2021. And so it just so happened that I interviewed and got the job offer at the company that I left Oracle for. And they gave me the offer letter like the day before.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, I have to see something in writing and I have to sign anything before I'm going to quit. Like, I'm not going to quit until like I've secured this position.
Right.
And so I get the letter, like it's more money. It's a better opportunity. It's something I'm more excited about. And I'm like, all right, yeah. So I email my new manager who like is supposed to be my first day. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I'm actually quitting.
You emailed? Did you quit through email?
Yeah, so I quit through
gosh.
email because like I didn't have a relationship with this guy. Like I had one like 15-minute Zoom call with him and that was it. Like he knew nothing about me and I just knew it would be really awkward because like he was excited. He sent us an email that morning at like 7 a.m. like, welcome to the team, everyone, to like 10 new people. And I'm like sitting there like I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. Like what am I gonna do? She's like, you just gotta do it. You gotta just do it.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. But the manager that I was close with from my previous team, I didn't say anything to him because I had already said my goodbyes for like leaving his team.
Okay.
But I sent that email and I get a response. And within 10 minutes, my old manager, Jim, calls me.
Oh gosh.
And I was like so nervous. He goes, Anna? I was like, hey, Jim. He was like, so I heard that you just quit. I was like, mm-hmm. Like, I just was so like awkward and uncomfortable. And like, I don't even know. I felt like I was going to cry. I don't even know why. I was just like so overwhelmed with emotion. And this was my first time like resigning in a job, period. Like I had a job in college. I worked at like a women's clothing store, like little boutique.
And that's different because that's something like you're not going to work there when you're out of college.
No,
so you know that you're definitely going to have a stop at some point.
Exactly.
Something with your first full-time job, it's like you could work there for 30 years, you know?
Yeah.
That's up to you when you quit or when you like get fired or laid off.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I was definitely super nervous. But it was awkward, but it worked out. And at Oracle, they have a policy that if you quit, you can say like, I'm putting in my 2 weeks, like what you should say, like respectfully in the work industry, but you quit on the spot. Like if you say I'm putting in my 2 weeks, if you're at the office, they will literally escort you out by security is what I've been told. I never worked in the office because it was closed because it was the middle of the pandemic, but people that worked there previously were like, yeah, like if you quit, they literally have security come, they like take your laptop and everything from you and they like walk you to your car.
It's like going to the principal's office.
Yeah.
Like what?
It's like, what am I going to do? Steal some important like information? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. When I quit my job, I did it over Zoom and I feel like they knew it was coming. And I had a call and same with you. I was so emotional because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving it because I didn't really like what I was doing. Same as you. You didn't really like what you were doing at Oracle. But when I do think back to that time, I loved every single other aspect of my life. Like I was having a fantastic time in Austin, settling down here. So what would be your advice when you're working at Oracle to yourself kind of like on the daily of, you know, enjoying Austin outside of Oracle?
Well, Jenna knows me pretty well. I'm a very social person. I enjoy going out, not just because I like to like drink and like that part of my social life, but I'm just very social in general. Like almost every weekday, you know, have to have fun on weekdays. I always like will try and do something with a friend, whether I like meet one girl to walk the trail or meet another girl to go get my nails done or grab dinner with a couple girlfriends. But I'm always doing something. I thrive in social environments. Like I get happiness from seeing people. I mean, I definitely need my alone time here and there, like everyone does. Yeah. But I think I need a lot less alone time than most people. And so it's just like finding that balance, especially entering the workforce. You really want to prove yourself and you want to do your best and you want to like not regret anything. But I also moved to a new city and didn't know a single person. And I'm trying to also start my adult life socially. And I know some people get super bogged down with work that they don't have that work-life balance. And I think it's so important. I almost think it's more important to lean towards like being a little more social and a little more balanced than like the little more work. Yeah. Because work's always going to be there. And like, especially in sales, like it's not like you like finish these tasks and you're done for the day. There's always more you can be doing. There's always more people you can be cold calling. There's always more people you can be emailing. It's like you have to just be like, okay, I've done enough for the day, or okay, I've done enough for the week. Like I'm satisfied, like whatever. And I really try to like when I leave work, I try to leave the work mindset at home as well. Like I don't know. I think it's annoying if you go out and you're meeting people and you're like, so where do you work? Tell me about your job. Like, what do you do? Like I'm sorry, it's my weekend or it's my like 6 p.m. like fun on weekdays night. Like, I don't want to talk about work. Like that consumes 40 hours of my life every single week. And so when I'm not on the clock, I would prefer to not talk about it. Like, yeah, I'll tell you where I work and what I do, but I don't want to talk about it for an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some people are just like, let's talk about work. Let's talk about work. I'm like, no.
I know. Well, it is just the very simple, easy go-to thing that you can talk about when you are feeling like maybe a little uncomfortable. Because I will say there are certain people that you hang out with for the first time, especially like a new girlfriend, that you click instantly and it's like, oh, I could tell you my last 5 years of trauma, no problem. Or there's those people that you feel like a little bit reserved and I don't even know what that feeling is.
It's weird.
But those are the types of conversations that you resort to when you like get that type of feeling, I kind of feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's good to talk about work in a sense if it's, like a huge part of your life, but also like if that's the only thing you're talking about.
I know.
Do you think that it's easier to have good work-life balance when you don't like your job?
Probably.
I feel like I think I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think I do.
I think so. Because you're like so ready to close your computer. You're so ready to be done for the day. Because I've definitely like gone through different phases where I really like my job or I'm like, ugh, work, and I think that when you love your job, you want to talk about it more and you want to, maybe work extra hours or, check your laptop on Sunday afternoon as opposed to like doing something with your friends or, something creative or whatever. But yeah, no, I agree with you too. Like it's definitely normal to ask somebody when you meet them for the first time. You're like, what do you do for a living? Or like, what industry are you in or something like that.
Oracle.
Yeah. Oracle, heard of it. But no, I just think that like there's definitely a lot of other sides to people besides just their work. Like that shouldn't be your sole identity, I feel like. So
yeah. And so when did you quit at Oracle?
It was the fall of 2021.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was September 1st, but don't quote me on that.
So and in the meantime, you had been working and you had something pretty like traumatic and heartbreaking happen.
Yes.
So I feel like that also probably, well, we're going to talk about it, but also probably shifted your mindset a little bit too towards work and like wanting to do something else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't want to share it. I'm like,
okay.
I don't know how to segue in. I'm like, well, I
didn't know if you were gonna ask me a question or something. No,
my hands are getting sweaty. I'm like, oh, how do we segue in?
I know. No, so, I can talk about it. I had a really, really close family friend. My parents and his parents were friends before they even had children. Like they were like young 20s, like our age, young married couples. They would go golfing. They would, go out to concerts, all these things back in my hometown in North Carolina. And so they had a son that was my age, and then I have a little brother, and then they had a younger son that was around the same age as my little brother. And so the four of us just grew up like the best of friends. So I was basically like the only girl. It was basically like I had three brothers. Like when we were all growing up, like, from babies to middle school, we would play football in the yard. And like I was like a tomboy. I mean, I still cared about my outfits and my fashion. And I was still like obsessed with, Justin Bieber and everyone else. But I like would like to get down and dirty in the yard and play games and play football with the boys. We would go on family vacations. We would do so many things with this family, and we still do. And their younger son, his name's Riley, and he was really struggling when he went to college. He went off to the University of Arkansas, and he was there. He just really had a hard time, and he had a hard time sleeping, and so he kind of would resort to drinking to help him fall asleep. And then it just kind of progressed, and he was really struggling, and we knew he was struggling, and his parents got him as much help as they could. We brought him back to North Carolina. He transferred back to a school in our hometown. Okay. He was living like in like the basement of his parents' house. We had like his own like separation, but they could still like keep a watchful eye on him. And he was going to counseling, therapy, you name it. But no one knew, obviously, the depths of which he was struggling and hurting. And so February 7th of 2021, he took his life. It was the morning of the Super Bowl. And so I was here in Austin with my friends. Mm-hmm. And I had gone out the night before, and my mom never calls me early the morning after she knows I go out, because my mom and I are really close. Like, she knows what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, like, pretty much all the time. And so I was like, hey, Mom, I'm going out with some friends tonight. And she's like, okay, have fun. Like, I'll talk to you sometime tomorrow. So normally she would text me and be like, hey, sweetie, are you awake? Something like that. And she called me, and it was like 9 a.m. And I happened to be awake, which sometimes I sleep in kind of late after a night out. But I was awake. I was just laying in my bed. She calls me. Her voice kind of breaks. I'm like, I knew something was wrong. Like, just, it's your mom. Like, the minute you hear something in their voice, you just know something's not right. And so like I immediately flew home that day, like got on a plane. I spoke at his funeral. My brother and I were both pallbearers. My brother and I both got tattoos. I only have one tattoo on my body, and it's for him. I always called him Riley Boo because he was the youngest, and for some reason he and I clicked really well, and then my brother and his older brother clicked really well. And so like there were so many times where he would just like come snuggle me on the couch, or like we go on trips and I'd like carry him piggyback. back. Like he was like a little brother to me as much as anyone could be. And so a lot of times I shortened Riley Boo just to Boo.
Cute.
And so I don't know if y'all can see, but it says Boo and the little O's are hearts. Yeah, but it's small and it's little, but it's just a constant reminder, not only of him, but also just like that we're all going to go through tough times and you have to try and see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, so many people struggle with anxiety and depression and, you know, thoughts of self-harm, and it's such a serious and real thing. And I had always, like, you know, I've been an advocate for mental health awareness. My mom had also dated someone when I was younger that took his life, but I was like 7 years old and I didn't really understand and comprehend like really what that meant. But then after losing Riley, to your point earlier, like my whole mindset on like work and just like my life in general kind of shifted. Obviously, I still cared about my job. Like I needed to make a living. I couldn't just completely throw it to the wayside. But I also was like, this isn't everything in life. Like if I'm not happy with my job, like I'll quit and find one I am happy in. Like, you know, do you want to have a job where you're making a lot of money, or do you want to have a job where you're truly happy? Because sometimes it is kind of that back and forth of like, well, I really want to do this, but I won't get paid much. So I'll do this instead because I make more money. And so I don't know, it's a hard balance, but that's why another reason why I was like, it's kind of like sad whenever my manager at Oracle called me, because he was so great to me when I was going through that. Oracle actually offers bereavement leave, which good. I didn't even know about. But if somebody in like your close immediate circle passes away, you can take up to a week of bereavement leave, and it's paid. And so it doesn't like mess up with like your PTO or anything. And so I was home for a lot more than a week, but I took that week off and didn't even touch my laptop. I was like helping write the obituary. I created a GoFundMe to create like a beautiful like land space in his memory. And then what else did I do? Created a website, created an Instagram account surrounding his life, but also like in awareness and support of mental health and, you know, suicide prevention and things like that. So I was just like doing everything in my power to like stay busy and try and like do things that were positive to help his family and my family just get through that first week, especially. But then I went back to work, came back. I was in North Carolina for like a month, came back to Austin, felt just like really weird and out of place. And my one roommate at the time, Leanne, she had met Riley, but none of my other friends here had met him. And he was such a huge part of my life, especially my whole childhood. And then everyone's like, wait, who is this person that passed away that you were so close to? Because like they had met like my parents, and my little sisters came to visit at one point, but no one had met the Estes family. And so it was definitely just like it was a weird time for me. And I had so much support from so many friends, and, you know, my family and Riley's family were so great to me. Like they were so sad that I had to leave and come back here like alone. And so his parents, mom and dad and his brother, they would call me and text me like weekly. I was hearing from them, just like, how are you doing? What's going on? And then in April, so that happened in February. And then in April, my roommate Leanne, one of her really close guy friends that I was also friends with, but it was definitely a closer friend of hers. He was on her team at NetSuite, which was a part of Oracle. He passed away unexpectedly in April as well. And so, you know, I had lost grandparents and I had lost people in my life that were older, and it was like, okay, well, they lived a long, happy life. You know, they were a grandparent, they were in their 70s. Like, it's okay. Like it happened. And like, we're grateful for the time we had with them. But when someone passes away, like Riley was 19 and I think Luke was like 24, 25, like it's so different and it's so hard to process, especially being like away from your family and like away from your like little comfort bubble. And I had built friends here, but I had been here less than a year when this happened. And so, yeah, my whole mindset on a lot of things just kind of started to shift, and I started kind of to prioritize other aspects of my life over my job.
What were those priorities? How did that shift following losing two people that you're obviously really, really cared about?
Yeah. I think I just started to realize like how precious life is, and how, I mean, we always know like no one's guaranteed tomorrow. Like every day is a gift. Like, you know, have as much fun, like do all the things that make you happy, because we never know when our time's going to be to leave this earth. And so I think I just started to spend more time with friends, be more intentional about my time. I wanted to be better about reaching out to all my college friends, because, you know, we all moved to different cities and started new jobs, or some of them were in med school or grad school. And we were all like so consumed with our like current city and situation that it was really hard to maintain the same level of friendship that we had obviously had the last 4 years being roommates and being sorority sisters and all these things. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like what if one of them were to pass away? Like I haven't even talked to them in 6 months, like 8 months, like a year, like, oh my gosh. And so I started like being more intentional about like, okay, like this night I'm going to hang out with someone in Austin. This night I'm going to call one of my friends. Sometimes I would sit on my bed and I would call like 3 or 4 people. No one would answer. And then finally the 5th one would. Like I would just go through my friend groups and just be like, okay, I'm going to call her. Okay, I'm going to call her. Okay. And I love to FaceTime people too, just like see them and like see how they're doing. And then also I just like got a lot closer with my family. And yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that was really good. You kind of touched on it too, but do you think that being in Austin, having only lived here for a year and grieving people that your current friends here didn't know, did you think it made it harder to kind of go through that and feel like a little bit misunderstood from your friends because they just didn't know that person?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my friends were great and like I can't say anything negative. They all were like so supportive and like, but there would be times where I'd be completely fine and like I could talk about him like I am right now and like I would be okay and like I would hold it together. I wouldn't cry or anything. And then I remember like there was one day in particular we were all like at Unbelievable on Rainy Street and someone brought it up and I just started sobbing uncontrollably. And so like, you know, there's different like stages of grief as people talk about, but like sometimes like I say I'm okay and I really am okay. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, like I'm doing my best. And then I just burst into tears. And so it's like, they would hug me and they'd be like, do you want to leave? Do you want to stay? Like, do you want a shot? Do you want water? Like, what can we get you? You know, like people were like genuinely trying everything they could. But until our friend here, Luke, passed away, a lot of my friends had never even lost like
you
anyone.
just don't understand how to help a friend when you've never gone through it. And same to myself as well.
Yeah. And then I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like suicide adds a whole nother element to that grief because it was something that was completely preventable. I feel like if someone were to pass in like a car accident or of natural causes, it's like, okay, well, you know, that was outside of anyone's responsibility or, you know, anything that could have been stopped. But when someone takes their own life, it's like that could have been stopped. Like if Riley had, you know, spoken up a little bit more and told us a little bit more about the depths of his struggling and his loneliness and his hurt and things like that, like I would have gone on a plane and flown home for a month, not because he died, but because he needed me there to support him as a friend and as like, you know, a big sister role. And so many people would have dropped what they were doing to be there for him.
Mm-hmm. So for someone like your friends or myself, well, I am your friend.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was weird wording. What's your advice to people that have someone in their life that are dealing with grief? Like, how can we best support you? Because like you said, people didn't know what to do. It's, do you want water? Do you want a shot? Do you want to go home? Like, what's your best advice?
I don't know. It's hard. And I feel like everyone also deals with grief differently. So like what helps me might not be the same thing that helps you or helps the next person, but just being there and making it known that you're there. Because like I got hundreds of text messages, like the day it happened, the next day, even the 3rd and 4th days. But then then afterwards you see who checks in on you a week later, a month later, even like on the 1-year anniversary. So it's like, yeah, it's great to text them like right when it happens and be like, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, I'm here for you. I'm praying for you. I'm thinking of you, whatever you want to say to them that makes sense. But then it's like the weeks afterwards is when it really starts to set in and when you really start to feel alone. So I think that like my advice would just be like, if someone that you love is going through grief or loss, like, yeah, say something initially, but then make sure you like circle back a week or 2 weeks or like a month later to just be like, hey, I'm thinking of you. I love you. I'm here for you. You don't have to ask any questions. You don't have to be like, how are you doing? Or like, do you need anything? Like, it doesn't even have to be a question. It can just be a statement. Like, I'm thinking about you today. I love you. If you want to do anything, like, I'm always here for you. If you ever need someone to talk to, like, I'm always a listening ear. Just providing that consistent support, I think is great. And I mean, when my friends were like, do you want a water? Do you want a shot? Do you want to leave the bar? Do you want to stay at the bar? Like, what do you want to do? Like, we'll go anywhere. We'll do anything. I mean, that was still really sweet. And like, it made me laugh and like, it was a giggle and it like helped me to like get out of my like crying funk that I was in. But yeah, I think just overall, it's just the consistency because grief and loss, it doesn't just go away in a week. Like, it's not just like, oh, well, the funeral's over, so I'm better now. Like, that's when it really starts to set in. And sometimes I still don't even feel like Riley's gone. Like, I'm like, oh, he's at school, because I saw him so much in my like younger days, like growing up, but then I went off to college and then he was back at home and then he went off to college and then I moved to Austin. So the last like 6 years of my life, I'd only see him like major holidays or when I would go home for something significant in my life or his family's life. And so like last Christmas was our first Christmas without him. And that was really hard. And like I said, like we would spend holidays with them, like his brother and mom and dad like woke up on Christmas morning with us and opened presents with us this year, just like we have every year, but it was without Riley. And so that was really hard. And I did have a few friends just text me and they were like, we know Christmas is going to be hard for you. Like, we love you. And so just like the constant reminder that they haven't forgotten, and they know that like it's still hard for me and it's still a struggle for me, I think is just like the greatest gift that a friend can give when you're going through something like that.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think because I lost my sister lost her best friend last year as well. And I had her on my podcast at the beginning of 2022. So if you haven't listened to that episode, that's a very emotional one, talking about that. And I feel like it was so hard for me to watch her be so like heartbroken. But it's been like such a beautiful thing to watch how she's honored her friend's life over the past year and a half since she passed. So what are some of the ways now that you kind of like live a life to honor Riley?
Yeah. So I did make that GoFundMe, which sometimes still will get random donations, which is like,
pop off.
I know, kind of cool. And it's like, it goes to a foundation and his parents can have access to it, but like only specifically for, you know, the thing that we're doing to honor his life, which has been taking a long time because we're trying to get access to land to create this like happy green space area with like fountains and stuff. But that's really cool. And then I do run an Instagram. It's called Fly High Rilo, if any of y'all want to check it out, because a lot of people called him Rilo. I'm the one that called him Boo. But yeah, Fly High Rilo. I try to post like every now and then, or when there's like events, holidays, things going on, like little family photos, or him as a little boy, or him with his like recent friends. And a lot of people like consistently like, you know, we'll tag him, shout him out on things. And then I think like the best thing you can do, no matter who it is that you lost, is just keep their memory alive by sharing stories about them. Like I've lost both my grandmothers like many years ago. And sometimes like I forget like things we did with them, or like trips we took with them, or stories that like they told or that were about them. And so like every time I see my grandpa, I'm like, tell me another story about like me mom, because I called her me mom. And so it's just like keeping their memory alive by even just talking about them and reminiscing on good fun times. And so whenever I am home, especially when we get together with Riley's family, we talk a lot about him like in a positive way, and like we'll share old funny stories, we'll show old funny photos, and try to have like a good laugh and then sometimes a good cry. But yeah, just keeping their memory alive by reminiscing on good memories that you have with them, I think is the best. Yeah,
I love that. So you said that at Oracle they had bereavement.
Yes.
Which I actually took that as well when my grandma passed 2 years ago.
When you were working at TikTok?
When I was working at TikTok. And yeah, and I have to say too, like I'm sure you experienced it like way heavier, because like you said, you know, when it's your grandparent and you know that like they've lived a great, beautiful, happy life, and you know that like it's their health that's taking them. I still had a really hard time like being away from my family, working here, doing a job that I didn't like every single day, and all I could think about was just being like lonely. And that was really, really tough for me. The leaves are falling. It's getting a little bit chillier. It's starting to get darker outside earlier. And Macy's has everything that you need to stay cozy this fall. Macy's Friends and Family Sale from October 24th through the 31st gets you 30% off of regular sale and clearance items, plus an additional 15% off of beauty. That's 30% off pretty much everything from the latest trends in fashion, home, shoes, accessory, and more. You can check out my landing page at macys.com/FOW. Again, that is macys.com/FOW. But I was going to ask you, because it was like suicide and you mentioned that maybe like a little bit of guilt, like preventable. Has that kind of encouraged you to be more vocal about your feelings to your friends if you're ever struggling or anything?
Yeah, I think so. I'm really lucky to say this, and this is not me like, I don't even know what to say, but I've never struggled with my mental health, which is something that I'm so fortunate for. And it's not me bragging or anything. Like I've personally never felt those feelings, but I know they are real and I know they are valid. And I know that so many people go through them. And so I'm not necessarily vocal about like my feelings because I don't necessarily have them. But like if I see a friend that's like a little off, not even like seeming sad, just like not their normal self that day, I'll like maybe pull them aside, or like she and I maybe are going to the bathroom. I'll be like, how are you doing? Like, are you okay today? Like, you look really pretty. I love you. Like, how have you been? You know, like just a little like uplifting comment or something here and there. And I have been through other traumatic events in my life. My parents divorced when I was really young. So I'm very open in general about talking about my trauma, the things that I struggle with, the things that make me sad. Like, you know, and so to the next point, I was laid off from my second job, and like I called my friends and was like crying. I was like, I was laid off. I'm so embarrassed. Can't believe this happened to me. Like blah, blah, blah. So like I am very open with my feelings. I just am very fortunate that I don't struggle with my mental health. And there may be a point in time where I do. And, you know, I know that it's difficult and it's challenging, but just being open in general about my feelings, my thoughts, like where I am, I feel like it helps other people to want to be open as well.
Yeah, it definitely does. I feel like, well, from the moment that we met, I remember we went to, the first time that we met was at dinner at the Grove,
yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when we met Sarah, our other best friend, and Kirsten, I just remember at that dinner, it was like, you were so open. You were setting the tone for everyone else to follow in. So like when someone in the group is like very open
and vulnerable
and we'll talk about anything. I remember, I think we were talking about like our sex lives.
Oh yeah, we were.
Like, that's a way to get to know somebody.
Yeah, I'm like, hey guys, this is what I do. This is what I have done. This is what I will be doing, you know? Yeah.
I know. And it's so funny because you are literally that person that I think of that can like pretty much get anybody to talk about anything. And I want this episode to show that side of you as well, because I know that like we wanted to honor Riley and give him a moment to just like talk about that and the struggles that you went through with it. So like, you know, kind of going on to a more positive, happier note. So you went to that second job and then you were talking about getting laid off. And I want to talk about that because you said you were embarrassed.
Yes, I was. Even though I knew it was nothing that I did. And they even reiterated multiple times. Like our head of HR was on there and like my manager's manager were on there. And they did a round of layoffs. Like they laid off like, I think, 10 people at our company. And the company was less than 80 employees. That was a large percentage of our company. And they told me, they're like, Anna, like and it was on a Zoom call and it was like kind of early in the morning, and they were like, Anna, like, we're really sorry to tell you this, but we have to do a round of layoffs, and unfortunately today that's going to involve you. And I think I was just so shocked that I just started crying like on the Zoom call, and I like wanted to turn my camera off, but I was like, I can't do that. Like, I gotta be strong. Yeah, I'm like, I gotta be strong. And they were like, do you have any questions? And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm still processing. The only thing I could say was like, am I going to get paid again? Like, am I poor now? Like what? Like, and they're like, no, like you're going to get severance pay. So like I got like paid through that whole month and then through the whole month of September. So I still got like 3 more paychecks. And so, ironically, I have a new boyfriend, and my boyfriend and I had a cruise planned. It was our first little like getaway as a couple.
This is my favorite story.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'd already taken time off. So I got laid off like August 2nd. I'm talking August 2nd, like a month and a half ago, like very recently. Get laid off August 2nd. We're set to go on this Royal Caribbean cruise out of Galveston, Texas on August 5th. And I haven't been on a cruise in many years. Like my family was kind of a cruise family back in the day. Like we'd go on the carnivals, we'd go on the Royal Caribbeans. Like my mom didn't have a ton of money, and on spring break she always just wanted to do fun trips. And sometimes we would go with Riley's family or like other families. And so all the parents would like drink out at the pool, and the kids would like run around the ship, and we would have walkie-talkies. And like I love to cruise. Like some people hate on them, and like, okay, yeah, maybe sometimes they're a little cheesy and there's big crowds and the buffet. I don't care. I still think they're fun. And so my boyfriend and I booked this trip, and it was like super affordable. Again, it was our first little getaway together. So I was like, this will be a good test. Like it's 5 nights, just the 2 of us all alone. Like it could go really great or it could go really poorly. But I get laid off. So now I'm like, you know what? I can enjoy the vacation. I don't have to worry. I took time off, but I don't have to worry about checking my laptop or like missing anything. Right. Like I'm truly going to enjoy this vacation. And when I get back, I'll regroup and start looking for new jobs and whatnot. So we go on this trip. And it was a great time. I did not enjoy Costa Maya at all, but I loved Cozumel. He and I went to this like, it's called the Cabana Beach. It's like this little private cabana beach, and you can rent a cabana, and you can only go on the beach if you rented a cabana. Okay. And it's very affordable like the US peso translation, I guess. It was only like $100 for the whole day.
Okay.
And you have like a waitress and they bring you like food and drinks. And
was
it's
that
like,
included? It was free food and
the
drinks.
chips and guac were included, and like towels, snorkel gear, all this stuff. The drinks and everything weren't, but the drinks were really inexpensive as well.
Okay.
But we went to Costa Maya first. So it was 5-day cruise, day at sea, which the first night on the cruise, someone jumped overboard and tried to commit suicide, which I had never been on a cruise where that had happened. I made a TikTok about it because I was like, guys, I don't really know what's going on. But like the boat stopped, we turned around, they rescued the guy, brought him back on the ship, and he survived. So like, it was just like the weirdest start to a vacation. We were like, what's going on? Then we went to Costa Maya. That was the first stop. It like poured down rain. We like, were like, let's go to a local spot and have some local tacos. And we were trying to like,
trying to be authentic.
Yeah. And I love Mexican food. And I'm like, it'll be so much better than like those like, you know, like touristy restaurants. So my boyfriend's like, okay, Anna, whatever you say. We get in the back of this cab and he's like, the whole time he's like scared. He's like, we should not have done this. They're like driving us through like not very safe parts of Costa Maya. And so we hang out at this little beach for a few hours. We eat some tacos. Like we had like some drinks like that, or like alcoholic drinks. But, we felt fine. Everything was fine. Then we go to Cozumel the next day, went to our Cabana Beach, had the best time ever. It was literally the most beautiful place. Like I was like, I would get married here. Like I loved it. Well, we go back another day at sea. We get back to Galveston. We get back in my car and we're heading back to Austin. And my boyfriend's like, pull over right now. Pull over right now. I'm like, what do you mean pull over right now? There's not a gas. Like, what do you mean? He's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So we like go to the bathroom and I was feeling fine still, but he was not. He's like, I think that breakfast like didn't sit well. I'm like, but we've had that same breakfast every morning for the last 5 mornings. Like we've been having the eggs and the bacon and the fruit every morning. So I'm like, I don't know about that. So then we drive a little bit further. I'm still driving and now I'm like, it hits me like I gotta go to the bathroom. So I pull over and like Charles like, yeah, now you see how it feels. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, can you please drive? Like I'm not feeling great. Like I'm like sweating. I'm like, you need to drive. So then he starts driving. And then
that is the worst, like the poop sweats. Like you know when it's coming and you're like, oh my God, it's bubbling. And
and I'm like stripping down every layer of clothing because I'm like literally dying. And so then we stop again a third time. This was supposed to be a 3-hour drive. It turned into like a 5-hour drive because we stopped so many times. When we did stop, it wasn't fast. And so I like go to the bathroom and I come out. Charles is probably gonna hate me, but he's never gonna watch this, so it's fine. So I go to the bathroom, I come back, and he's like digging in the back seat in his suitcase. And I'm like, babe, what are you doing? And he goes, I shit my pants. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, like while I was pumping gas, like it just happened. Like I couldn't stop it. I was like, oh my gosh, we are not okay. Like what is wrong with us? We are dying. So then we go back, we finally make it to Austin and he's like staying at my apartment and we're sharing this one little bathroom and it was horrible. We go to the doctor. We have to submit stool samples. That's all I'm going to say. And we get the stool sample results back, and we had E. coli. So on my first vacation with my boyfriend, we got E. coli, and yeah, it was not pretty. But we got very close throughout the entire process.
The silver lining.
It was, yeah. And like now we're stronger than ever. He's amazing. I love him so much. But it was definitely very embarrassing. And it was like right after I got laid off from my job, which was also embarrassing. So I'm like telling all my friends, like, yeah, I got laid off. Then I got E. coli. Like my boyfriend and I were shitting ourselves. And now here I am trying to find a new job. What's up? You know? Like,
oh my God.
It was just a whirlwind. Like August was a whirlwind for me. But.
I actually just sat here the entire time with a smile on my face as if I was taking like prom photos. Like my jaw is sore.
I know. I'm crazy.
I feel like I've heard that story a couple times. Every time it gets better. You're just so good at telling the story.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sitting here listening as if it's like the first time. Every time. So good.
It's like you already know what's going to happen. But
yeah, so you guys got really close. And so right around this time, had he moved to Fort Worth yet?
He moved to Fort Worth the end of August. So that was like we were in that little transition period where he was about to start nursing school. He did a couple years of UT undergrad and then got into TCU nursing school. And so we knew he was going to be going off. And so I was like, let's go on a little cruise like before you go off. So before we're long
celebration.
Distance. Yeah. And it turns out that I was laid off. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Now we can really enjoy that time. But we got back from the cruise and I started like heavily interviewing for jobs. I was like, okay, like we've had our fun. We've had our shits and giggles. Now it's literally. So now it's time for me to like buckle down and like find my next job and figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah, which leads us to present. So what are you
Yeah.
doing? What are you doing now? What are you up to?
So now I am an account executive at a cybersecurity startup here in Austin.
Okay,
It's
sounds
called,
fancy.
I know, right? It's called Hack Notice.
Okay.
So it's super cool. I knew nothing about cybersecurity before entering into this
Yeah.
job or
How
into
did
this
you
space.
How did you get into that?
Yeah, I just saw a guy posted on LinkedIn. It was actually around the Oracle layoffs. There was a bunch of Oracle layoffs like the same week of when my company did the layoff. And so he was just like an older gentleman in Austin, and he was like, "Hey, I know there's a bunch of like younger like kids that were laid off. He calls us kids, yeah. He's like, y'all are younger than my children." I'm like, "Okay, sir." But he was like, "I know there's been a lot of layoffs," and so he's like, "I have a bunch of connections. If any of you guys want me to put in like a good word for you or like help you find an interview, I'm more than happy." And I didn't know him, but I reached out to him. He was really nice, and he was like, "One of my like buddies is interviewing. Like he's like the head of sales, and he's trying to hire 3 people for his team. He wants to reach out to you." And I was like, "Great." And so that's now my current manager, Sean. So,
oh my gosh.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, "Do you have experience in cybersecurity?" I'm like, "No, but I'll learn." Like, you know.
Yeah. How is that going from like, okay, so we did like a full 180 here. We did the first job, entry level job, not really loving it, but like a good, good experience, good company culture. Cool. Okay. Then you move on. You're working at this really cool job that you love. You're super passionate about it. It's like with fashion, all the things that you're interested in. And now you switch over to a job that, what are the perks? Like, what are the pros and cons of this job in comparison to the last?
Yeah. Okay. So it's definitely very different. I mean, it's still like a SaaS model. So like software as a service, it's called SaaS. So we're still selling a technology. It's still a platform, but it's obviously a very different industry. But it's industry agnostic, which is really great. So everyone needs cybersecurity, especially nowadays. Like, I don't know if any of y'all know anything about breaches and whatnot, but like Uber was just breached like not too long ago. So like everyone's like login and password and credit cards and like rides are out in the dark web now. So like people can see like, oh, Jenna Powell, she always Ubers from this address to this address. Like this one must be her home, or this one must be somewhere like her office or somewhere important to her. So it is scary. And a lot of people are not aware of what's out there about them and how it gets out there. And so our platform is different than anything else that's out there because it takes any sort of leaked records about you as an employee and sends you real-time notifications so that you can go in and protect yourself and change your password or cancel your credit card or like my license plate was leaked in like a Park Mobile app breach.
What?
I'm like, that's my license plate. Oh my gosh, So it's pretty crazy, but it really is a cool industry. And I'm an account executive, which is a promotion from that BDC, BDR role. So now I have my own territory. I have my own quota. So I'm actually closing the deals. So I'm taking them all the way through the pipeline, not just starting them off in the pipeline. And I have the Southeast territory. So I grew up in North Carolina. My mom's from Mississippi. My dad's from Alabama. My brother went to school in Tennessee. And those are all my states. Gal. I know. So those are all my states, which is so great because I can relate to those people. They're from states that I'm familiar with. Right. And so far, it's been really good.
That's good to hear. You sound like you're crushing it over there.
Well, thank you.
I mean, like you said, we don't really talk about work that much whenever we hang out. Yeah. So actually, it's like nice to hear what you're up to and everything that you're doing because I knew that you just recently switched and then your boyfriend is in Fort Worth. He's going to school, figuring that out, maybe going to nursing school and all of the things. So, this is like a full recap of the past like 3 years of your life.
I know, really. So much. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed.
No, I loved it. I mean, I had fun. I think everyone else probably had fun too. So closing things off here, we're at like 50 minutes, which is a pretty good time.
Yeah.
And we covered a lot.
We did.
What would you say are like the key takeaways that you want anyone listening to this to just know, whether it's about friends or work or having fun or like just anything?
Yeah. I think just always be authentic, be yourself. Advice my mom has given me since I was a young girl is like, if you live your life trying to please everyone else, the one person that's going to be left unhappy is you ultimately. And so
that's a good one.
Yeah. I think that you always just have to sometimes be selfish and like do what's going to be best for you, whether it's best for your mental health, whether it's best for your career, whether it's best for you in a relationship. Sometimes it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to put yourself first because if you're constantly putting others' needs before your own, then you're going to be the one that's left unhappy or unsatisfied or miserable, quite quite frankly. So just be authentic, do what makes you happy, be vocal about your needs, your wants, anything that you're struggling with or going through. You should never be embarrassed about your feelings or shitting the bed or anything that happens because
or getting laid off
or, getting dumped or cheated on. I've been dumped and cheated on, like things happen. And, I feel like we get stronger by going through those hardships. And 9 times out of 10, if you're vulnerable and you talk about it, those people probably have too. Like when I was like, hey friends, I pooped my pants. They're all like, oh, we have too. Like, but we had never talked about it because everyone's embarrassed to bring it up. But like once you bring it up, then everyone else normally has been through that or has been through something similar. So you should never be embarrassed to talk about your feelings or your desires or your needs or funny, embarrassing things that have happened to you because it probably already has happened to your friends or it will in the future. And then they can call you and be like, hey, I remember you got laid off. Like, I'm going through it. Like, what's some advice? How can I get through this? Like, things like that. So
that's some good advice.
Yeah. I think, this is me bragging on myself, but I think I'm very authentic. I don't ever try to please anyone. I don't ever try to sugarcoat things. I'm very honest and straightforward and direct with how I'm feeling, what I need, what I'm going through. And I'm just like an open book. So
yes, you are.
Yeah.
We could probably sit here and record probably 20 episodes.
Yeah.
About, I'm literally thinking on the top of my head, we have 20 different topics at least that we could cover. We could talk about everything
I know. Yeah.
But I appreciated you coming on and talking about your jobs. I know I feel like it's really interesting to just hear from people that work in a different industry than you do. And then at the root of all of it, all of that aside, whatever we do on a daily schedule, whatever software we're selling or clothes we're selling, whatever, at the root of it all, we all have similarities. We all have those embarrassing stories and we all have people in our life that we care about or you've gone through grief or whatever that is. And that's what really brings you together with those people. Yeah. So thank you for coming on. Love it.
Thanks for having me. This has been so fun.
Yes.
And if any of you guys want to reach out to me on Instagram or anything,
there you go.
I really am an open book. People have reached out to me and they're like, hey, I saw that you lost someone to suicide. I just lost someone. Complete strangers have DM'd me things like that or, just about other things. Cause I am very open on all forms of my social media about my life and things I'm going through. So if anyone feels alone and you want to reach out to me, I will gladly respond to you.
Yeah. What are your socials? I was going to plug it and you beat me to it. It was perfect.
Thank you. It's at Anna Hildreth, my full name on Instagram and TikTok. I'm not really big on Twitter. I don't have a YouTube or anything like that, but
there you go. Maybe a YouTube. You would crush YouTube. Maybe. I would watch the shit out of your YouTube.
Someone told me I should have my own reality TV show. I was like, if you know anyone, I'm open to it.
I would watch that as well.
Yeah,
that I would binge watch.
I would need to make my parents not watch it, and my grandparents especially not watch it.
Yeah, that's one thing. Sometimes my parents or my grandma will text me and they'll say that they listened to an episode and I'll be like, So I try to tune it out. Sometimes I had the mentality that no one that I know is listening to anything that I say or is watching anything that I post. And then once I had that mentality, it's like, okay, publish.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want to follow Anna, her handles will also be in the description for this episode. So check it out there. And thank you again for coming on. Yes. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week and I'll talk to you guys next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.